why do we always seem to attract the same situations that aren't serving us over and over again? Whether it's an emotionally unavailable partner, a battle with the number on the scale, or the never-ending cycle of being broke. It seems that no matter how much work we are doing to elevate our level of consciousness, we continue to get the same results. And, we know by now that everything that we witness is a reflection of who we are being and what we believe we deserve. But come on. Give it a rest, right? You're tired of being the poster child for life lessons. And we get it. It's all happening for a reason. Trust in the process and our divine path. But what is the deal? Well, the deal is that you are being kept safe from harm. That's right. Your subconscious real is your protector, sheltering you from what doesn't feel natural. And that's perfect, because that means that your nervous system is a well-oiled machine. The bridge between your mind and body communicating with you for your very survival. But what if its job is keeping you from experiencing all that you truly are as a soul? What? I hear you. That may very well come across as a huge betrayal unto yourself, for they are your instincts after all. And shouldn't you be able to trust your gut and count on yourself to take care of business? You sure as hell should. So, to clarify what is happening, is you are running on autopilot. You are unconsciously defaulting to a familiar hell because you don't feel safe in an unfamiliar heaven. Light bulb moment. Ooh. If this resonates with you and you are ready to finally be able to choose how you want your life to look, then come inside and receive all that is meant for you. Let's do this. Hello, spiritual badasses. Welcome back. And if you are new, thank you for joining us. I'm Izzy, your soul energy alchemist, and I'm here to help you embrace your IZ-NESS. We live from the cultivated, fear-based identity that we have crafted from the patterning and conditional thinking that, was handed to us from our ancestors up and through our parents and society in general. But our caregivers and influencers were not equipped with the how, as they themselves were led blindly by, those who were also living in survival mode. So the trauma and ill effects of what was instilled in us was continually passed from generation to generation, and we were expected to accept it as truth and, move forward accordingly. So when we were faced with traumatic and painful events, we accessed those tools, those limiting belief systems, in order to cope and comfort us, teaching that energetic entity we know as our nervous system how to react in any given circumstance in order to keep us at ease or out of enemy territory, so to speak. And it does this by way of homeostasis, where it strives to maintain a stable and predictable environment, regardless if it isn't serving our health and well-being. It prefers, sticking to what is known, even if less desirable, rather than venturing into uncharted waters. And for many of us, fear of the unknown is a red flag, a heightened sense of panic, which, communicates that what is safe is more disarming than the potentiality of something new and unfamiliar, but what we ultimately want to attract. This unfamiliar heaven, okay, presents uncertainties and potential risks that can and will evoke new fears and anxiety in which we avoid like the plague. And so when, we return back to our security blanket, which over time and with repeated exposure and habituation begins to reinforce and construct our neural circuitry and framework. This is precisely how we get stuck in flight, fight, freeze, or fawn, also known as the sympathetic nervous system. When our body feels threatened or unsafe, it immediately kicks into, its survival mechanism, bringing us back to safety. So let me stop for a bit. If you have any questions, maybe you're still unsure of what I'm trying to get across, my own comprehension skills force me to ask a lot of questions. And I do much better when I can, ask as I go without having to ingest a ton of information and hope for the best. I am a visual, communicative learner who does exceptionally better in a classroom, over just reading content without real-time guidance. So seriously, take advantage of me. It's important to grasp this in order to advance along your journey more efficiently, without unnecessary hindrance. Now, that statement is not meant for you to assume that anything is right or wrong, okay? Just compare it to as if someone has a better route to take to a destination. Either way will get you there, maybe without 5 miles of construction traffic. Let's move on. So now that we understand what our energetic body does and why, let's talk about what these responses may look like as an external experience. In the beginning of this video, I mentioned emotionally unavailable partners. Well, to backpedal a smidge, the word familiar is a derivative of the word familial, okay? And I say more, family. So an unavailable partner can be dating your parents, your cousins, any relating experience. So if you were exposed, let's say, to emotionally detached caregivers who could not provide to you what you needed as a developing child, you began to form beliefs and expectations regarding connection and attachment. And because of your age, you could not conceptualize the need for proper nurturing and self-love and self-care. So you looked for love externally and learned really quickly that emotional intimacy is unavailable to you. And so when we transition these structures into our adult relating experiences, these are some of the traits that we are all bringing to the table. Number one, we struggle with being vulnerable. If we've never learned to express our emotions and have them validated and reciprocated in a healthy way, opening up in relationships can feel uneasy and scary. And we're usually not willing to risk rejection. Being vulnerable feels like being naked, and that requires a self-confident willingness to step into our fear fearlessly. Watch my previous video. Fear is not your enemy. Being vulnerable is a gained, trusted experience that gets stronger every time a safe space is created for us. And it only takes one traumatic experience of mistrust to undo any trust you may have invested into. So it permeates like a virus where everything becomes sick as a byproduct of that mistrust. Number two, your attachment style. Anxious, avoidant, disorganized, and the unfamiliar to my small world, secure. It's the white tiger of the dysregulated nervous system. rare. And depending on where you land on this emotional spectrum is how that fear will show up in your reality. For instance, an anxious attachment person will go to any lengths to retain the status quo of their relationships in desperate attempts to avoid abandonment, betrayal, or disconnect by accepting breadcrumbs and the bare minimum of low-hanging fruit. They are often desperate to be seen and accepted for who they truly are. And as the relationship starts to progress and requires more from both parties, the partner of the anxious attachment will begin to pull away, recreating the trauma and triggering the inner child. And remember what I said in previous videos, if you use your energy to push onto, the reciprocator will retract their energy from. And speaking of avoidant, they are usually on the pull your energy from side of the dynamic. These types can be a closed book as a way to hide or stay away from intimacy in order to protect themselves. They have trouble accessing their feelings, so they take action in the form of ghosting, breadcrumbing, cheating, or as I've experienced, doing a 180 in how they treat you. They flip-flop from one extreme to the other, leaving those in their wake doubting and blaming themselves because the whole thing is so unclear. You don't even know what is what. Okay? And it's their inner conflict, though, that is emitting a clouded, lower vibrational frequency. Now, secure attachment is balanced, unfazed energetically by external happenings. If you stay, they're good. If you leave, they're still good. And not in a closed off emotional way, but they are able to stand in their own frame and let go of the outcomes, which as a result gives people the freedom to be who they genuinely are. They have a healthy nervous system that is in the parasympathetic state of calm and inner wellness. And what is familiar to a securely attached individual is entirely different than what is familiar to the unhealthier forms of attachment styles in others. The contrast is that one is in a state of unconditional love while the other is living in fear. One is in charge of their emotional body and the other one is controlled by it. One keeps living from their pain body, and the other is being in their soul. One is reacting, and one is responding. Transmuting your energy into a more secure means of attaching sounds amazing, right? It is, and believe it or not, you already are that. You just forgot who you are. Are you ready to take that stairway to heaven? Awesome. Believe it or not, this isn't that difficult. It's basically all mindset and energy work, which are more thoroughly detailed in all of the previous videos I've posted. So if you are dedicated to your personal expansion and growth, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to my channel so you won't miss out on the guidance I'm offering as you continue along your journey. I've been there and I'm ready to help you. And that being said, the first order of business is to want to change. You must admit to yourself that life is not working for you. And it will continue to play out, the same way unless you have a come to Jesus moment with yourself. By admitting that you want to change, you automatically shift the energy, okay? Your nervous system is like Say what? Like, what's going on here? It's as though you've turned the lights on in the basement you never go in because it smells like mildew, leaks of water, and makes creepy noises and needs the kind of attention you refuse to invest in order to make it livable. But that basement door keeps staring at you. It reminds you of the work you are avoiding. It's not going away. So roll up your sleeves and get dirty. The next easy peasy move is to create, new ideas and daily routines as part of the norm. So you say, I'm going to the gym every day. I hate it and I don't want to do it, but I am making this familiar. I'm saying no to jobs that don't fulfill me. I need the money. But by, begrudgingly accepting what doesn't excite and inspire me, I'm just regurgitating a familiar response to things that aren't serving my highest good. I kept saying that I need to get up and out in the early morning red and blue sunlight. But for a long ass time, I turned over in bed and continued to sleep. And it's been one of the best things that I gave myself. I feel incredible, like day one, and my circadian rhythm is finally up to speed. I do, when I'm out there, I do 20 minutes of presence, and then I'll add in, my daily breath work. This has become something I actually look forward to instead of dreading. And I'm thankful that I, started it over the summer so that by the time winter comes, that's all, second nature to me. Listen, driving a car wasn't familiar until it became familiar. Dyeing your hair wasn't familiar until those grays started creeping in. Remember when you were young and you used to practice kissing on your pillow? Why? Well, because you didn't have any idea how it actually felt to really kiss someone passionately until you did. Some of you may have been in situations where kissing the pillow was the better option. Anything you put a persistent effort into can and will become familiar. That also applies to removing those rigid rules and gatekeeping tactics that are giving you a delusional sense of security and control. I used to call my daughter the rules police when she was little because that was how she tried to wield her power and run the show. And I humored her sometimes, but she didn't play, she meant it. Mommy, you're not allowed to stay out after 10 because it's curfew. And I don't want to see you drinking wine. Oh my God, I hardly drink, 2 if any. But I did eat at least 200 calories a day in chocolate. Until I chose to make it a familiar occasional treat instead of its own food group. And fast forward a couple of months, I eat very little of it now. Being in a stagnant place will just allow the story you're buying into to unfold without any effort. What you expect always shows up. So stepping into the unknown flips the script. And speaking of scripts, a simple change of perspective and language makes all the difference. Instead of ruminating and analyzing over another's actions, you place the focus onto yourself by bringing the energy inward and remaining there. For instance, how do I feel about this person? Not how he feels about me and what he's thinking or she. What is my intention for this relationship? Why am I allowing the behavior to show up? This practice will eventually rewire the neuroplasticity of your brain and neurological body. And You say no to the familiar by taking your attention off of it. The only way to magnetize what it is you prefer is to say no to what it is that you don't. This is how you transmute energy. As you begin to inhabit a higher sense of self, your inner being steps forward and your ego takes a siesta. You will attract the experiences, opportunities, and magic that support the new familiarity, thus creating a momentum that affects every aspect of your life. The old familiar becomes so unfamiliar that you don't even recognize that person any longer. Good for you. And now that you are aware of how you might be expressing yourself in your life, you can, and with more clarity, see why your nervous system reacts the way that it does. If we can give ourselves grace over the things we could not manage, we could then lay to rest the old stories we cling to that formed our personality and character, both of which are the ego. And you know that ego of yours, desperately needing to stay put so you can stay put. Too bad, so sad. Standing in your energetic frame activates with an alchemy within your nervous system, sending new signals and impulses to your subconscious mind, empowering you to write a new chapter through the thoughts and beliefs cultivated from a higher state of consciousness. One where you are able to choose how life unfolds rather than waiting to be chosen by happenstance. The key is to express that you are making different choices, taking inspired, intended action while removing the unfamiliar off the pedestal as an obstacle to overcome. Do it as if you already are. Aligning closer to your soul really gives you the ability to be more empathetic and forgiving towards others without dishonoring your personal boundaries and while giving them the freedom to be who they are. And that is such a beautiful expansion of the heart. So applaud yourself for that, expression of unconditional love, where the unfamiliar hell is now and forever a familiar heaven. Okay, guys, that is a wrap. Love yourself as you needed to be loved once before. And as you show gratitude for all that you are right now, remember to do it all from your badass rock and roll heart. Until next time, I thank you. Be well and namaste.